Viva Fitness. Fiesta Fit Fest presented by HEB is coming to San Antonio, April 14th through the 16th, 2023. Get geared up to party and celebrate all things fitness. Headlined by Le Tap San Antonio, the Tour de France cycling event. Cyclists of all ages. The Le Tap San Antonio presented by HEB sold out last year. Register for the 160 or 25-mile Tour de France cycling event today. Register today at fiestafitfest.com.
All right, Pickle. Time for some headlines from across the state of Texas. We will start with the following up on last week's breaking news, which was that Galena Park North Shore's head coach John Kay was leaving to become the new linebackers coach at Rice. They wasted no time. The next day, they hired Willie Gaston, the offensive coordinator for North Shore, to become the next head coach of the mighty Mustangs there at North Shore High School.
Which seems super smart.
Gaston is an alum. Mm-hmm. He was a star quarterback himself there at North Shore, and, by the way, is known far and wide as one of the finest offensive minds in Texas high school football. There are a lot of parallels, I think, to this situation and the Austin Westlake situation.
Yes.
Where there was... Now, the Austin Westlake situation, we knew Todd Dodge was going to retire. Mm-hmm. He announced it and said he was going to retire. And they named Coach Tony Salazar kind of the coach in waiting. Mm-hmm. But it was, even before he was the coach in waiting, it was...
widely known.
It was an open secret that Tony Salazar was going to be the next head coach at Westlake.
Yeah.
I think it's a similar situation here with Willie Gaston at North Shore. This is a guy who has been one of the headliners of this. One of the big reasons why North Shore has been so successful. And he's been there since 2008. Been there for a long time. He's widely respected. And when John Kay left, I think,
this is a layup.
This felt like, don't think too hard. Mm-hmm. It's right here.
It would have been one of those that had they hired literally anyone else, we would have been going, what's going on behind the scenes? Because there's no reason that he shouldn't be it.
Kind of a similar situation, I would say, is what happened at Liberty Hill.
Yes.
With
Kent Walker.
With the passing of Kent Walker, the passing of Jeff Walker, and they promoted his brother Kent. Mm-hmm. Again, just felt really obvious. Obviously, different situations there, but this was. I don't think there was really any question that this was the way to go.
We would have been shocked if it was any other way.
Yeah, I mean, it's also it also fits in nicely with what we say, which is if you have a good program going,
and
you've got an assistant that's sticking around, just plug and play. And that's what they're doing there. So North Shore has a new head coach. Willie Gaston will be the head coach of the North Shore Mustangs moving forward. Starting in the college ranks, we talked about last week how Stephen F. Austin was looking for a defensive coordinator. They were looking for a defensive coordinator after Joe Cathan left to go to be the defensive coordinator at Utah State. They have found a defensive coordinator. Michael Mutz is going to be the next defensive coordinator for Colby Carthel and company there at Stephen F. Austin. He is coming from Tulane, where he was their linebackers coach. He was on the Sam Houston coaching staff twice, defensive line coach in 2004 and 2005, and then he was there as their defensive backs coach in 2013. DC at Blinn. He has some history there from San Antonio. He's from Texas. He's from San Antonio. But Willie Fritz he's been on Fritz's staff there for the last 10 seasons there at Tulane. He followed him from Sam Houston to Georgia Southern to Tulane. So the new defensive coordinator there at Stephen F. Austin is going to be Michael Mutz. This from our own Corey Hogue. Dipping into the sticking with the non-FBS ranks, and this is big news in the Division III ranks. That Dave Campbell's Texas Football, through our own Corey Hogue, has confirmed that Trinity, which is becoming itself a Division III powerhouse, will play in non-conference play Mary Hardin Baylor and St. John's.
You want to talk about a gauntlet?
Those are big, heavy-hitting matchups, and when you add in, I would say you've now got matchups here: Trinity versus Mary Hardin Baylor, Trinity versus St. John's, And then I would also lump in Mary Hardin Baylor is going to play Wisconsin Whitewater in non-conference. You are going to have 4 programs going at it that have combined for 11 national championships.
That's crazy.
Yes.
And then later in the season, they'll have to play that Rhodes College out of Memphis, which I heard is just a juggernaut. So that's huge.
Anyway, I would say that this is pretty big news in the Division III ranks as far as scheduling is concerned. They ain't afraid. Trinity is going to play Mary Hardin Baylor and St. John's during non-conference play. A gauntlet there and some big-time D3 action coming to Texas in 2023. To the high school ranks we go, and back to a story we may have touched on briefly. It's a story I'll be honest, it's a story I've intentionally tried to avoid.
Yeah, things got dicey.
Rockwall Heath is looking for a head coach. John Harrell has resigned there at Rockwall Heath. There has been he has been on administrative leave since early January after an off-season workout that resulted in the hospitalization of several players, which resulted in an investigation by Rockwall ISD and Texas Child Protective Services. The results of that investigation have not been made public. John Harrell has been the head coach there since 2022 was his first season. He was the running game coordinator for Mike Spradlin before that. I said that I've kind of intentionally avoided this story, not for the sake of trying to hide it from you. It's obviously available out there. The Dallas Morning News has done a really good job covering it and things like that. There's just a lot that we don't know about that. And it felt, from my perspective, if I would only be piling on, and I would only, in my opinion, be sparking more speculation in order to go into that. I think we mentioned that John Harrell was on administrative leave, and then we kind of let it be. But the facts on the ground are that after a workout, several players were hospitalized. After that workout, and John Harrell was put on administrative leave. He has since resigned there at Rockwall Heath. It is a sad story all around, I think. And I don't know now that he's resigned. I mean, I guess there could be a situation if the report comes back or the results of the investigation come back and they are sufficiently troubling. This could crop up again. But I do wonder. If John Harrell resigning at Rockwall Heath is going to be more or less the end of the conversation. There.
Right, and I think also, in contrary to what we said about North Shore about hiring within, I think that you would likely see just a whole new facelift there for Rockwall Heath.
Yeah, several members of the 2022 coaching staff have already departed, including both the OC and the DC. We will see what happens there at Rockwall Heath, but this is going to. I would imagine that they will move relatively quickly. Coach Russ Reed or athletic director Russ Reed will probably move quickly on that job. But John Harrell has stepped down there as the head coach there at Rockwall Heath. Round Rock is looking for a head coach. Jeff Cheatham, the head coach there at Rockwall, is
Round Rock
rather. Round Rock Rockwell.
Rockwall.
He has been the head coach there at Round Rock for 13 seasons, but 2022 is his final one. He is stepping down. Not really.
Kind of.
Yeah, he's leaving his current position.
Yes.
As head coach at Round Rock High to be the new athletic director for Round Rock ISD.
Yeah, congratulations, Coach.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Dwayne Wyrick. Man, just tough morning. He retired in December as the after about 10 years there as the athletic director at Round Rock ISD. Jeff Cheatham is going to be the new athletic director at Round Rock ISD, which leaves open the job of the Dragons. He has 23. He finishes with a record of 143 and 111. Before he was at Round Rock, he was the head coach there at Salado. But congratulations, Coach Cheatham. I mean, we'll still deal with him a lot, but because he's the AD now. But Round Rock is open, and I think that's going to be a very enticing position.
Yeah,
absolutely. There at Round Rock High. Kind of a twofer.
Yeah.
Dealing with the same coaching staff.
Step had his pulse on both of these as well.
Friendswood has made a hire. Friendswood, Robert Koopman is out as the head coach there at Friendswood, and they have made a hire. They have hired Denton Geyer offensive coordinator Jordan Johnson to to be their next head coach. He's been the offensive coordinator for the last 3 years for the Wildcats, helping them to a state championship appearance in 2021. Of course, they were excellent this past year as well. He was wide receivers coach at Rockwall before then. He played college football. If the name Jordan Johnson rings a bell, he did play football at LSU. He is a Friendswood grad, so this is a homecoming for him. But the new offensive coordinator, or the new head coach rather, at Friendswood is one of their own, Denton Geyer offensive coordinator Jordan Johnson, the new head coach there at Friendswood. Sticking on the Denton Geyer staff, Italy has made a hire. Shout out to Caitlin McCann. Mm-hmm. Italy has made a hire. They have hired defensive linebackers coach from Denton Geyer, Mike Lovelace, to be their next head coach, taking over for Lee Wilkins, who resigned after just one season. This is another homecoming. Mike Lovelace is an Italy grad. He has he was a head coach at Kearns for 6 seasons, where he was actually pretty darn good. Back in the early part of the 2000s, he led Kearns to 3 regional semifinal appearances. He's got a 48-24 record, but he was an assistant at South Lake Carroll before he was at Geyer. He has got a pretty dynamic resume, and he is going to return home there to Italy as Mike Lovelace is going to be the next head coach of the Italy Gladiators, leaving his role as linebackers coach there.
And that says something about Coach Riedheim at Geyer, too, because good assistants get hired away. So to have 2 big names like that leave to go take over programs is a shining star on his plate, even though, he probably hates to see him go.
Yeah, most certainly. This one came as a bit of a surprise.
Yeah, it did.
Friend of ours, friend of the show, Brandon Houston, the head coach of the Taylor Ducks, no more. He's going to take a new role, a different role within Taylor ISD. That's all that's been said. I got to follow up with Coach Houston to figure out exactly what he's going to be doing. But he's going to take a new role within Taylor ISD. There as he went 8-13 over the last 2 seasons. But that is honestly a minor miracle, considering he took over a program that was on a 21-game losing streak. Mm-hmm. To go 8-13 in 2 seasons is
and make the playoffs.
A huge step in the right direction. They made the playoffs there in 2022, 5-6 this past year. Again, for that Taylor program, you got to grade things a little bit on the curve here. Mm-hmm. A huge step in the right direction. But yeah, he's going to move into a new role there. Before that, he was at Buffalo. That's kind of where we got to know him. He was really, really successful there at Buffalo. And so yeah, keep an eye on that one. As Taylor's looking for a new head coach, the Ducks, as Coach Brandon Houston, is going to move into a new role within Taylor ISD. Rockport Fulton has made a hire. They are going to Midlothian Heritage to hire their defense coordinator, Jacob Bible, to be their next head coach. Jay Seibert, we mentioned, is going to take the job at Sweeney. And Coach Bible, who is an Oklahoma guy, he's going to move from Denton Geyer or rather Midlothian Heritage, to the coast, to Rockport Fulton, to take over that program. Before that, he was on the staff at Aledo, where he was a part of their 2019 and 2020 state championship squads. And yeah, this is, I believe, I want to look at this real quick. You're listening to live coverage of me looking up our coaching changes page, which you can find on TexasFootball.com.
Brought to you by the helpful North Texas Honda dealers.
Yeah. So no, I'm thinking of Nick Ward, who's the Midlothian defensive backs coach. I thought this was another defensive assistant from Midlothian Heritage, but it was Midlothian defensive back coach who Nick Ward became the new head coach at Cedar Hill. In any case, Jacob Bible is going to be the next head coach there at Rockport Fulton, as the Pirates haul in their guy. Maybe you do or don't know this. If you're not in the greater Houston area, in the Mo City, Fort Bend ISD is going to open a new school in 2023. They'll start playing varsity football in 2024. It's going to be Fort Bend Crawford. And they have hired a head coach. Fort Bend Dulles offensive coordinator David Jackson is going to be the head coach of the newest school in Fort Bend ISD. He's been on the staff at Dulles for 8 seasons. He was a freshman coach, worked his way all the way up to being offensive coordinator since 2019. It's not yet determined where they're going to be, but they'll probably, Matt Stepp on TexasFootball.com kind of speculates. I would say he's got a good pulse on this type of thing. They'll probably be a 5A thing. They'll primarily pull from Fort Bend Ridgepoint, if you're interested in that. It'll be Fort Bend ISD's 12th high school there, Fort Bend Crawford, their new head coach, David Jackson. Finally, the biggest news of the week. Look at that darn thing.
How about that?
Past Wednesday, the Republic of Football, those nerds who run that college football podcast, well, they just expanded. That's right. Announcing the Republic of Football Podcast Network which is a Republic of Football launch in 2017. We've been having a podcast ever since then. It's our college football podcast. You should subscribe to it. You should definitely now subscribe to it because we are expanding to include a variety of other shows. We launch with 6 podcasts that are going to be part of the Republic of Football podcast network, including, look, Republic of Football, not going away, all that type of stuff. We're still going to keep doing that. But we're adding in some existing podcasts, Between Two Bears, which is a Baylor podcast with Matt Wilson, Evan Hebert, and Deontay Epps. Gambling Gauchos, the tech podcast.
Fantastic
those
podcast
nerds,
name.
Rob Bro and Kyle Jacobson. Excellent podcast, by the way. All these are excellent, I should say. The Green Room, our friend Matthew Bruni and Colin Mitchell's podcast about North Texas. And the Roost podcast.
Let's go.
Matthew Bartlett and Carter Spires, a Rice podcast. If you're unfamiliar with the Roost, I've been a big fan of the Roost for a while.
It's fantastic.
They cover Rice, I think, better than anybody. In addition, we are launching 2 brand new podcasts. We're launching Eyes on Texas, which is our Texas Longhorns podcast. It's going to be Mike Craven and Aaron Hogan of 104.9 The Horn down there. They're going to be talking in-depth analysis of what's going on in the 40 acres. And then, sorry, the coach is wondering where we're just really excited.
And then it's the Aggie War Pod.
The Aggie War Pod, the newest podcast from the Dave Campbell's Republic of Football podcast network, talking about Texas A&M Aggies with Mike Craven and former Texas A&M defensive lineman and Duke's mayonnaise enjoyer, Jay Arnold, who will be joining us on the podcast. And, by the way, more could be on the way. It's big doings there. The Republic of Football podcast network. Just make sure you check that out. Go subscribe. It'll all be in the same feed, the Republic of Football feed. So if you subscribe to Republic of Football, all those podcasts will be coming through your feed. So
it's good stuff.
We're really excited about that. Go subscribe to Republic of Football. Hey, thanks for watching this clip here on YouTube. If you like this kind of stuff and you want more of it, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And remember, you can watch us live every weekday at noon at TexasFootball.com, Facebook, Twitch, or here on YouTube. And if you want more of the best coverage of football in the state of Texas, check out TexasFootball.com and become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football Insider at TexasFootball.com/subscribe.